It was the Delhi Capitals who prevailed against the Mumbai Indians. They were about to make it 5-0 Mumbai in terms of the last 5 games played. But Rishabh Pant and his men changed history in tonight's
game. You're watching Critlytics Man vs Machine.
Yep, guys, you're watching Critlytics Man vs Machine, and here we are to really figure out the post-mortem between DC and MI, and we have Mark Butcher with us. Mark, you could see it in that particular game. It swung like a pendulum, of course, but eventually going Delhi Capitals. Where do you think the best team won?
I think they were brilliant on the night, Delhi. I mean, conditions couldn't be more different. And suddenly, they decided to rip up the rule book in terms of the team selection. Stoinis opening the bowling, left out Wokes, brought in Hetmeyer, who was there to see it home at the end. And most importantly, Amit Mishra, who made a huge, huge impact. I mean, the wickets of Pollard, Hardik, Ishan Kishan. Who else did he get? Rohit Sharma, he's got out more times than anybody else, was an absolute stroke of genius. So Ricky Ponting and Rishabh Pant and the think tank got everything right tonight. And a little bit wobbly towards the back end in the run chase, but you'd expect that with the conditions as they are, and with Mumbai being a champion side. But in the end, I think tactically they got it absolutely spot on. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, they say horses for courses, and Ricky Ponting, of course, rung in the changes, and good changes too. Smith played his part as well. Let's talk about Mumbai, because at one stage they were getting away from the game, and quickly too, with Rohit Sharma well set. But that was a turning point, you reckon?
Oh yeah, huge. Again, Rohit has this quality that allows him to make difficult conditions look pretty straightforward. Think back to the Test series against England. Nobody else, with the exception of Rishabh Pant, could fathom out the conditions on either side, but Rohit made it look very straightforward. And so once he was out, first of Mishra's contributions, then things went a bit wrong. I mean, listen, in the build-up to the game, we sort of talked about how great Mumbai are at the back end, with Pollard and Ishan Kishan and Hardik and Krunal and all those guys. But Mishra took care of a lot of them. They pretty much did everything I said they would need to do, which was to be bold. They were incredibly bold in their selection. They nailed it at the back end of the innings. And when they batted, they played it. They had to play it pretty smart because the conditions dictated that way. But they also didn't panic. It was a really good performance.
Yeah, and Mumbai Indians, another game where their batting powers haven't really shown their might in terms of Pollard and the Pandya brothers, of course. Let's move on to the Critlytics predictions right now, because I'm pleased to tell you, Mark, you've come away with your first win in this particular Man vs Machine, the Critlytics Man vs Machine, 2-1, and you won it by the skin of your teeth. We'll unfold the predictions as usual, but we'll start with the batsman. And there was something about Shikhar Dhawan. You spoke to me about him pre-match, about how he's just been a different left-hander in the last 18 months. He should surely open for India in this year's World Cup, you reckon?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, we spoke about that at length in the pre-show. And form-wise, he's playing as well as anybody, yeah. So, congrats to him. And you wonder if being out of the team and kind of being a little bit out of favour and a sort of slight change in mindset and being a little bit more relaxed about life has led him this way. Who knows if he gets selected? Who knows if he'll go back to the old Shikhar Dhawan? But the way he's going at the moment, terrific.
Yeah, of course, Critlytics and you went for Shikhar Dhawan, so it became 1-1 there. Bowlers, it wasn't your day out. Let's take a look at the predictions, of course. And when we look at it in deep dive in particular, it was Rahul Chahar, of course, called by Critlytics, just Bumrah by you, but Amit Mishra. I mean, how old is he, Bush? How old do you think he is?
I don't know, but he's been knocking people over with hard spun leggies and big googlies since the very start, hasn't he? He looks like he could be about 45. I reckon his birth certificate probably says 38.
I think it's spot on in that regard. In 4 for 24, of course, being the best figures against Mumbai Indians for Delhi Capitals player. Quite brilliant, of course, from Amit Mishra. We'll move on to, of course, prediction 3, and this was the all-rounders. Now, one went for Stoinis, one went for Pollard, but it wasn't a B. It was actually Lalit Yadav who got that wicket in that 20-odd in the chase. Still young days, maybe you don't know much about him, but just seeing him from the outside, Butch, what do you make of Lalit Yadav, especially with the bat in hand?
Yeah, I mean, it looks to... listen, all of these guys can strike a clean ball, can't they? But I think what goes on between the ears is often quite something to judge a player by. And again, he has the confidence of his captain and his coach. He's getting a decent run in the side, and managed to play a decent hand. So, but it's one to look out for. I don't know a massive amount about him, but he's certainly one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, keep an eye on him and keep an eye on cricket.com, because we do these stories about certain players and hidden gems like the one that you guys can see on Sakaria, and of course, not to forget Shahbaz Ahmed from RCB as well. Let's move on to the wicket keepers, because this is where it got decided. The fate was buried in terms of the robots. It was Rishabh Pant to prevail over Quinton de Kock, and just because he's got 7 and took 3 catches, Quinton de Kock really failing again, and that made Mark smile, or rather is making him smile right now.
Yeah, well, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn every once in a while. I mean, listen, I'm smiling even about the result. I know that both myself and Crickalytics went for Mumbai, but very happy because Mumbai is still going to get through to the final 4. Delhi Capitals are a team that I've backed heavily to get through to qualification, and a result like this really helps them in that regard. So listen, I may have lost in terms of picking the right team to win the game, but I feel like I've won anyway. I couldn't lose today.
Yeah, I think you perfectly summed it up, and just the way that the table's taking shape just before we finish here, Butch, because it's looking Virat, MSD, Rohit, and of course Rishabh Pant. Would you back these 4 captains?
Well, for sure. The only team that isn't in my final top 4 is CSK. So yeah, I mean, and look, they play again tomorrow night. We'll see if the master tactician Dhoni, who's perhaps not the master blaster with the bat anymore, can inspire the Rolling Stones to another victory tomorrow night. We shall wait and see. But listen, they're a damn good side, and KKR, who the team that I've picked to go in, have got 1 or 2 things to sort out in terms of their best lineup and the best use of their resources. Yeah,
of course, only time will tell how it really pans out for KKR, because they've been flirting with the playoffs but really not crossing the line, and we will see, of course, tomorrow. But that's all we have with Mark Butcher right now in terms of this post-match analysis of course, the Delhi Capitals versus the Mumbai Indians. It was Delhi Capitals all the way today. And if you guys want more on our platforms, you can check it out on cricket.com. Until then, it's a goodbye from us.